Welcome to New Earth Lifestyles. I am JaneE, your hostess. Welcome. Lovely day in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. I have some wonderful things to talk about today, and hope you can stay with me through the whole hour. A lot of springtime stuff happening. I have plants to show you. I have festivals to talk about. I have a gift of chicken eggs to talk about, and also massage gift certificates that were given to me back probably a few weeks ago that I have been forgetting to bring up. And we will talk about also perhaps the 4 agreements if we have time. So I'm glad you're here today. Thanks for coming. And we're turning on your set and being present. So I'm JaneE King, and I have a healing practice in New London, New Hampshire. And right now I'm focusing on my studio, making what I call Native American drums, what I call actually medicine drums. And medicine in the tradition of the indigenous cultures means spirit power, or the power of spirit, the power of your spirit, the power of the spirit of the animal whose hide we use to make the drum, the power of the spirit of all of our relations, of everything that goes into making a drum, including the tree that makes the circular hoop, the water, the air, the earth, the fire, the metal, all of the elements, all of the elementals, all of the unseen world. So that's what I've been focusing on in my life so far in 2015 is presenting and helping and facilitating people making their own drums. So far we've made 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 drums so far this year. So it's been a great year so far for drum making. That's what I do when I'm not here in front of the camera. I also do hands-on healing work in that studio. So today, and every day basically, I am always being called by the unseen realms, by God, by source energy, by creator, by the unseen power of the universe, to bring to you, to show to you new ways of looking at life, new ways of looking at your health and your happiness and your joy. And why would you even want to look at that? Well, I believe that we are here to enjoy life and to live life to the fullest extent that we can in a joyful, happy, loving manner. I believe that's why humanity is here on this planet, and we're here to learn how to do that in our own way. And so what I'd like to do today is talk a little bit in the beginning here about these beautiful plants that we planted. I think it was around March 12th or so, early in March. We started these seeds, or I started them here and showed you how I started them. I brought some seeds in and put them in a jar that had damp paper towels in them, and I brought them back a couple weeks later, and you saw the sprout. 2 weeks after that, I brought them in and showed you how they sprouted. And now, voila, look at what you have here. We have actually 4 pumpkin plants, 2 in each of these beautiful jars. These are pumpkin plants. Now now this one, he wasn't too happy being transported, so he's kind of hanging on to the edge of the container. Hopefully he's I think he's gonna make it. He's not wilting. And so there are 2 plants in here, and there's a little baby plant right here that just came up. So this plant here is the oldest by the looks. As you can see, it's the largest. And this is a pumpkin, and pumpkins grow huge vines throughout the garden and make many pumpkins on this one vine. Now, the pumpkin is actually a squash. And the squash plant is one of what Native Americans call the 3 sisters. And these, especially out in the Southwest, they're called the 3 sisters. And the 3 sisters are actually corn, beans, and squash. And they're called the 3 sisters because when they're planted together, the corn grows up and makes a stalk. And the beans then, they're planted around the corn, and the corn then becomes the pole for the beans to grow on. And then the squash also grows along the bottom, but it kind of helps to shade and keep the moist earth underneath all 3 plants moist and fertile and growing. So, and those are staples. corn, beans, and squash are staples, which means they're like something that's eaten almost every day or included somehow in the meals pretty much throughout the whole season. And the thing is about corn, beans, and squash also is, at least the beans and the corn, can be preserved pretty easily and dried and made into all kinds of pemmican and different foodstuffs that can be then eaten throughout the winter months. So corn, beans, and squash. And so this is squash. Pumpkin is a squash, a type of squash that is eaten like pumpkin pie, or you can just cut up pumpkin and boil it and eat it, mash it up and eat it. It tastes pretty good, actually, and it's really good for you. Now, the reason I wanted to start these seeds back in March and then continually bring them in as I can, I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring them in again because they'll be getting pretty big. As a matter of fact, if anyone is out there that has a need for pumpkin plants, I'm looking for homes for these because I live in an apartment. I don't have a place to put them in the ground per se, and they really, what pumpkins love for soil is actually a manure pile. Funny enough, I used to have horses, as most of you, if you watched before, you would know that. I've had horses pretty much all my life. I don't have any horse right now, but horse manure is a great medium that pumpkins love. They thrive in a horse manure pile. I'm sorry. And if someone out there is watching and you'd like to own these pumpkin plants right now or soon, you can give me a call right now. The number's on your screen, 413-0223, and you can claim these plants. If you're interested in have a good place, some good soil that these pumpkin plants might grow and thrive. Now they're going to, when these pumpkin plants grow, they are going to probably grow up 10 feet. They just start going. When they start growing, they start going. They go forever. They just keep going. And so you can snip them back, and that would make your pumpkins bigger if you snip them back. But I am looking for a home for these 4 plants because I would like to see if they, I was hoping to see the pumpkins that they produce, because they will produce some pretty nice pumpkins coming from organic seeds. I believe these seeds actually came from Musterfield Farm in Sutton, New Hampshire, where I bought a pumpkin there and saved the seeds myself. Now, that's something you can do if you buy organic, open-pollinated plants. So you might want to ask your farmer's market or your person that you buy your plants, your food from, these types of foods, corn, beans, or squash, if the plants are open-pollinated, which means they're not hybridized. They're not interbred for certain procedures, for certain, to be resistant to things, resistant to bugs or resistant to chemicals or resistant to certain things or take up more water. A lot of the hybridized plants are hybridized for a purpose, to be hardier plants and be easier to take care of. Yet the problem is that the seeds of those plants do not reproduce. They're sterile. So these plants obviously come from pumpkins that were open pollinated, not hybridized, because they have produced 4 beautiful plants from 2 seeds. Actually, each of these had 2 seeds in them, one seed and one seed. So I'm looking for homes for these, and they'll be making some really great pumpkins. So, this one you can see is a little bit smaller, but look at the size. Look at that. That is such a beautiful green, isn't it? I mean, look at the luscious green of that plant. It is so beautiful, and it's continually growing. And then this little baby right over here is just popping through. This just popped through the other day. I didn't notice it, but I think it came from the same seed. And then this one here, is a little bit on the smaller side, but there's 2 plants in there, and they're coming along nicely. So I'm looking for homes. These plants are looking to be adopted, these pumpkin plants. And getting back to the 3 sisters, there's a lot of, if you go to the Mount Kearsarge Indian Museum up in Warner, they have some beautiful displays of basketry and all kinds of Native American regalia and artifacts. And you might see on some of those different artifacts and baskets woven in as a design, the 3 sisters. It's a very common a very common design that Native Americans use to honor these three plants and to express their care for the earth through these three plants, and the fact that these plants are very, very helpful in sustaining life and keeping us alive by giving us really good, healthy food. So there you have it, the three sisters. And pumpkin seeds. So these plants are looking for a new home. Now, a little while ago, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had a guest on the show. If you watched that show, you probably enjoyed his music, and that was David Young. And David plays 2 Renaissance flutes at the same time. He's an amazing flutist, and he's also channeling George Harrison and John Lennon. He left me with some gift certificates for a local massage therapist, and she gifted these to him for me to actually gift to a couple people here that might want to call in and request them. Now, I've had them for a little while, so the expiration date is May 1st, which is coming up in like a week and a half. But I, wanted to...
Friday.
Oh, it's next Friday. Okay. So, yeah, so you have a week to use them. If anyone out there would like to have a free massage from Marie Portner at the Center for the Healing Arts. She is a good friend of David Young's, and he thought very highly of her when he went there. So I thought I would offer you these free gift certificates. I have 3 of them. If you'd like to call in and let me know, I can hold them for you, put your name on them, and leave them with Marie. Again, that's Marie Portner at the Center for the Healing Arts. She's at 1667 Elm Street, right here in Manchester, right downtown, easy to get to. Retouch Mindfulness and Motion. Retouch Massage, Mindfulness and Motion. So there's some free tickets here if someone would like to get a massage right here in downtown Manchester. That would be a good thing. Massage is a really great treatment to help you feel better, especially if you have any aches and pains or anything happening at all, or even if nothing's happening, you're feeling good. A massage really can pick you up. So there's some free tickets there if anyone would like to call in for them. The mindfulness bell, helping me to come back to center and you to come back to center and breathe and remember that our breath is so important for healing. Simply by breathing in and breathing out, that can heal your life. That can heal your life if you practice that on a daily basis in a very focused way. Just by doing that one breath can help you every 10 minutes, every 30 minutes, every hour, whenever. And so the other reason that I brought the plants in today was to talk about Spirit and God and Creator and the miracle of when you take a seed and you put it on you put it in water and it actually grows. And what is the mechanism? I'm always curious, what is the mechanism that makes life grow? What is the mechanism that keeps our heart beating? Yes, we have an electrical current, we have electrodes in our heart that keep the rhythm going, but what keeps that going? What is the battery? I mean, we live how long? 60, 70, 100 years or more, and we're not plugged in. Or are we? We're plugged. We can look at being plugged into the greater source of God energy that is all around us. And so the same thing for these beautiful plants and all of the plants that are growing and starting to grow this time of year in the springtime. And so having a way of honoring the food in which we eat and the plants and all that goes into making our food is really a wonderful practice. And actually, when I began researching and getting into my heritage, my Native American heritage, and my father's third cousin came along and taught me and actually brought the paperwork that explained my Mi'kmaq and Wampanoag background. And I became friends with her, Barbara Packard, and we actually went down to Berkeley, Massachusetts, to a Native American gathering that they gathered once a month down there. It was a pretty long drive for me from where I live in New Hampshire. But anyway, we carpooled down there, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn the tradition of Native American of my roots, because when I grew up, I didn't grow up knowing them at all. In fact, it was totally kept from us as children and me, our Native American roots, because it was something that my family was ashamed of. And I've come to know I'm not ashamed of it. I'm very proud of it, and I'd like to know more about it. And so that day, that time, it was quite a few years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I went down and went to a gathering of people down in Berkeley, Massachusetts. And the first thing, and I was because I wanted to learn more about the tradition, and the first thing that I learned, the very first thing, which is the first thing we all can take in, is to give thanks for our food. Give thanks to all that there is, to the great mystery, to Creator, to God. Give thanks. What if we give thanks every single time before we eat? Even if you're in a restaurant, just close your eyes, or just take a moment to say a prayer to yourself and say a prayer to whatever it is that you're going to be eating in front of you. And think about where that food came from, how that food was grown, who were the people that took care of that plant, who started that seed, what ground, what earth did that seed start in. All of this is so, so very sacred. And when you take the time, what I learned from that meeting down there in Berkeley, Massachusetts, was that when I take the time, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it takes, before I eat my meal, every meal, if I take the time to give thanks for that, give thanks to all that went into making that food, and give thanks to that food for nourishing my body, and give thanks to that food for everything that it gives to me, it can change my life. It will not only change my life, but it will help that plant, that food that comes from the plant, pardon me, to be more nourishing, because I have then imbued that plant with gratitude. I have imbued that plant with more of God's energy through me by saying thank you, to that food that came from this plant, that came from the seed, that came from the earth, that came ultimately from God, ultimately from all that there is. All that is out there that is unseen is manifested in our food, in our body too. However, right now we're just speaking about our food, but our food is so sacred. And food is medicine. Food is medicine. If you look at what you eat, everything you put in you is what you become. It gets broken down into your bodily systems and gets spread out and sent to wherever it's called for, wherever it needs to go. And it becomes who you are. If you're eating something that is not grown on the earth, that did not come through the system of God, to seed, to plant, water, earth, air, fire, people harvesting it, coming here, this whole earth way, this whole organic way that we are meant to eat, just like the animals eat out of the forest, or the fish eat in the water. Everything that is alive eats from the earth. However, there is becoming a huge, it's not only a trend, it is the way supermarkets are stocked, all the supermarkets. And think about that word, 2 words, supermarket. A supermarket needs to fill up its shelves with super things, with many, super meaning many, many, many things, that because there are many, many, many consumers. And because of that, our food that's in supermarkets is not totally food anymore. It's processed, it's manufactured, it's grown in soil that is sterile and that is injected with chemicals to make the plants grow. And believe it or not, if you were to take an organic tomato and a tomato grown who knows where, a factory tomato I'm going to call it, and you slice them and you ate them, you can taste the sweetness of an organic tomato. You can taste the fullness and the richness of the life in that tomato. When you taste, especially this time of year when tomatoes are not being grown locally in New Hampshire anyway, if you take a store-bought tomato in the middle of the winter, who knows where it comes from and how it's grown and what fertilizers being injected into the soil so that it will grow, because most of the soils that these factory farms grow their produce on has been is not grown with nutrients that are real organic, coming from the earth. They're manufactured, they're chemicals that are taken apart, put together for specific reasons with specific chemistry so that the plant will grow a specific way. And believe me, you can taste the difference. And another thing that you might want to do is I like to shop lots of times up in the Lebanon Co-op. It's the Hanover Co-op, but it's in Lebanon, right off I-89 in Lebanon. And they have amazing beef, and I love to get their hamburger. It's called grass-fed Vermont. I don't remember the name of the farm it's grown on, but it's Vermont grass-fed beef raised right in Vermont. And when you eat that hamburger, it tastes like it used to taste back in the 50s when my mother used to make hamburgers. I cannot eat the hamburgers that come from the grocery store, that come from the supermarket anymore. I cannot eat it. It's a totally different animal from eating sustainable, grass-fed, farm-raised locally to whatever you buy in the supermarket, which is feedlot fattened up on corn, and has those animals really don't have a life, and you can taste that in what you eat. So it all comes back to being sacred in your life, being sacred, and what do you believe in? What are your beliefs? And maybe you don't even align yourself, or maybe you're not even aligned with what I'm talking about here. But I'm just giving you an opportunity to be curious about where your food comes from, and how are you feeling in your body? Is your body vibrant and healthy and strong and healthy? Or is your body sluggish and overweight and pulled down and no energy and not feeling well? Are you stiff? Are you, Then I would look at what you're eating. What are you putting in your body? How are you nourishing your cells, your body, your physiology? So I think we had enough about that. So again, I'm looking for a home for these plants. And then let's move on to the next thing I want to talk about. I actually didn't have this on my list, but my technical director, John, brought me a lovely gift of farm fresh eggs. These eggs are 1 week old, and oh my gosh, are they beautiful. They feel nice energetically. These are farm fresh eggs, and I love this egg right here. It's I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a really pale blue. It's almost like a robin's egg. It is so beautiful, and John was telling me it comes from this huge hen, this huge chicken. Farm fresh eggs, 1 week old. These eggs are 1 week old. Nice eggs. If you buy your eggs in the grocery store, again, unless you're buying locally raised eggs, they most likely are months old, up to 3-4 months old, not fresh at all. And you can tell if they're not fresh when you crack an egg. If the yolk stands up and is really stands up from the white when you crack it, especially if you're doing fried eggs, and it's nice and round and it's plump, then that is a fresh egg. Eggs that are very old will pretty much be flat, and even the yolk is not nice and brightly orange colored like a fresh egg. Nothing like fresh food. And here in New Hampshire, we've got so much fresh availability of fresh food. Why not take advantage of it? Why not support our local farmers? Support the farmers markets, and they're coming up soon. All the farmers markets will be popping up and opening up again. In fact, I believe that even through the winter, their farmers markets have gone indoors. And so you might want to look up, I think it's the New Hampshire Department of Agriculture. You can look up online and get a list of all the farmers markets in the state of New Hampshire and find one closest to you and get some fresh eggs or get some fresh beef. There are a lot of farms now raising their own, or some fresh milk, or fresh. I think there's all kinds of fresh stuff. I can't say enough about it. So let's have a gong to the locally raised food. And the reason you want to buy locally raised is because you know where it came from. To buy your food from the farmer who grew it is just can't be any better. Can't get any better than that. And so when you say your grace, or if you say a prayer with your meal, you can you can even visualize the person you bought your food from and giving thanks for the labor, because farming is labor intensive. It's sunrise to sundown, and it's 24/7. So it's a labor of love for the farmer. It's an amazing thing that we have here in New Hampshire, that we can buy locally raised food, and giving thanks enhances that food even more. It helps it to be healthy and go into your body in a healthy, strong way. So pay attention to the food you're eating. So this is my mindfulness bell, helping me to be mindful, helping you to be mindful, helping you to remember to breathe and to relax. Breathing and relaxing. Again, free. That is so free and easy to do. And this time of year, here we are, we're in April. And earlier in the month, we had Easter, right? And that is a festival. The next thing I wanted to go through with you and talk about with you is the three festivals, three sacred festivals that happen this time of year. They happen April, May, and June. The first festival, sometimes it's in March, but for the most part it's early April or the end of March, depending on when the full moon, the third full moon of the year, or the fourth full moon of the year is. And so Easter, if you look back to April 4th, you will see that Easter was a full moon. Actually, I have it as the full moon on Saturday the 4th, but it kind of goes over Saturday and Sunday because it's full sort of in the evening and then again in the morning of the next day. So the full moon is a marker for some amazing festivals. And Easter is the first of the three I wanted to talk about. The second festival is coming up in May. And that's the full moon of May, and that's called the Taurus moon, because May in the solar, zodiac, May is the month of Taurus. Actually, it starts at the end of April and goes into May, end of May. The zodiac sign of Taurus the bull. And April was Aries, and Aries is the air sign, so it's going from air to earth. And the second festival coming up on May 3rd is called the Wesak Festival. And I'm going to be talking more about that in a minute. The third festival coming up is coming up in June, and that is called the Festival of Goodwill. These three festivals happen every year, and if you think about Easter, Easter is about Christ rising from the dead, right? It's about the resurrection. It's about being grateful for that change and the fact that we live forever. Christ is still alive. He has not died. He was put on the cross, but and they put him in the tomb, his body in the tomb, and he moved the stone away, and he had risen from the so-called dead. He had risen from the dead and resurrected. So the first celebration of Easter is about the resurrection of Jesus, of the Christ consciousness, of love, of the love of God. Now, the second festival we're going to talk about today is called the Wesak Festival, W-E-S-A-K. And that is a festival about Buddha coming back, Buddha and the Enlightenment. Buddha is about when he sat under the Bodhi tree and he meditated and he became a monk. Buddha, Siddhartha, before he was Buddha, he was Siddhartha. He was a human being like all of us, as Christ is a human being, and so was a human being, and so was Buddha. But he disowned his wealth. He was a wealthy young person when he went out searching for life and the meaning of life in India. And he meditated, and he became a beggar and begged for food, and became connected to the earth. And he wanted to find out the purpose of life. What is the purpose of life? And when he sat under the Bodhi tree, he became enlightened after a certain amount of things that he did. And he represents enlightenment, or connecting in with Buddhahood, or God, Christ consciousness from another level. Now, Buddha lived 500 years before Christ, and some people say that during Christ's lifetime, Jesus' lifetime, he traveled to India to learn about Buddha, to learn about Buddhism, and learn about the Enlightenment. And he brought that back with him to the Middle East and learned from it. All religions are pretty much similar. They are all similar in that there is one overlighting energy of divinity, overlighting energy of the divine, of divinity. And what the Wesak festival is celebrating is the coming of Buddha, and also the coming of Christ, and also the coming of the goodwill of all, and bringing that together to help humanity, to help us as humans move our vibration up higher toward enlightenment, toward the resurrection, toward understanding that we live forever. We shed this physical body, but our soul, our spirit lives forever. And by this Wesak festival that will be happening on May 3rd is a festival celebrating the fact that we are and all have the opportunity to become enlightened, just like Buddha. We all have the opportunity to be resurrected, just like Jesus. And these energies, I'm going to call Buddha and Christ, Jesus, energies, come together as brothers and sisters, as I'm a sister, brothers and sisters, as family, as part of the human family. We're coming together. And right now, just to backtrack a little bit about what happened around Easter time, we had the equinox, we had the solar eclipse, we had the solar flares, we had all kinds of energies coming in right before Easter. All these amazing once in our lifetime energies. I don't believe they'll happen again in our lifetime, all coagulating this spring, around springtime. I had a really good friend that passed away right at that weekend too. But there's all kinds of energies coagulating now. So if we were to focus on the resurrection of Jesus and the Easter, which actually comes from a pagan celebration of Ostra, O-S-T-R-A. That's where Easter came from, was from Ostra. Before Christ, the pagan religions celebrated Ostra. And if we were, as humanity, to bring ourselves to a higher vibratory level, and become aware of these festivals and the potential. And that's what I was talking about when I spoke about the equinox and the supermoon and the solar flares and all that happening a few weeks ago. If we become aware of that and we sit with that and we allow that energy in, and we allow ourselves to become connected to that energy, the same as we're becoming connected with the plants and the seeds in the springtime, and the light coming of the light as the light is growing. Days are getting longer and longer right now, right? So as we connect in with that, and we connect in with this festival of coming up of Wesak, of the Taurus full moon, the energies there are for us to grab a hold of and to embrace and help us, enable us to lift ourselves up to a higher level, lift ourselves up to more joy, more love, more compassion, more caring for our fellow man, more caring for our beautiful planet Earth. More caring and kindness can come through for us and help us as human beings to grow. If you're wondering what's in it for me, because some people like to ask that question, well, what's in it for me? I'm not sure I want to help everybody else grow. I want to grow myself. So if you're thinking about what's in it for you, what's in it for you is you being happier and healthier and stronger and more vibrant. As you reach out, as you reach in, as you just become aware and notice what's going on around you and have some connection. Maybe say a prayer or have some silence. And maybe if prayer isn't your thing to do, go out and sit in the woods or sit by the river or go up on your rooftop if you have a rooftop and sit up in the roof when there's fresh air and birds chirping or whatever's going on. But I guess I'm inviting you to connect in with a different level of awakening that's happening. And when we connect in with these festivals that have been going on for 2,000 years, just like Easter and Christmas and other things, not only that, but before Easter, it was Ostra. It was the humanity was still celebrating that first full moon in April, or the fourth full moon of the year, I should say, because sometimes it falls in the end of March. When we connect in with that, when I connect in with that, I feel an amazing surge of energy, an amazing surge of power comes into my being, into my body. And I'm feeling it right now. It just comes in, and it's an acknowledgement of, yes, we are here for you. I am here for you. God is here for me and for all that I care about and for all that is on this planet. And not only on this planet, but in this universe, because we have universal partners out in the universe. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to think that this one little tiny speck of Earth is the only little speck of planet that has life on it. It's pretty ridiculous because the universe is infinitely vast. And so there are life forms all over the universe. And we just don't see them. We're in a different dimension. But I didn't want to digress into that right yet. We're talking about these festivals and the Wesak festival in particular. And I wanted to read a little bit about the Wesak festival and the legend of it, too, because we know the legend of Ostra or Easter and the resurrection of Christ. And let me just digress for a minute. And talking about religion, I don't really practice a religion. I practice my own spiritual path. And it's mixed up with Christianity and with Buddhism and Native American beliefs and earth-centered paganism or Wicca. Pretty much all the religions, they believe the center point of most religions, of all religions, is love. Is that love is the only way. Love is the way. And that's what I believe. Love is the only way. Our heart and the ability to love one another and be kind to each other that's the root of all religion from my perspective. So as I say that, what do you believe? What do you believe? Are you aligned with sort of what I'm aligned with? Are you aligned with Catholicism? Are you aligned with Judaism? Are you a Hindu? Are you aligned with Allah and Muhammad? All of these things, all of these religions, all of them are based in love. All of them are based in love. And yes, there are fanatics in each one of those religions. There are fanatics in all religions. However, I'm focused on the basis of all religions, which is love. That's what Jesus taught us. That's what Muhammad taught us. That's what the Native Americans believe. That's what the South American natives from Peru, the Peruvians, and all indigenous cultures believe. The Aborigines from Australia, they all believe in love one another, and cooperation rather than competition. The Wesak Festival is a time coming up when people will be gathering all around the earth, just as people gather at Easter and Christmas and the Christian holidays. But the Wesak festival is just as big, but we just don't know about it as Christian people because we aren't tied into those places. However, I'm giving you an opportunity now to just be curious about that and notice and maybe look it up and be involved in it. So the Wesak festival presents to humanity a particular opportunity. So This festival gives us, humanity, a particular opportunity to claim the attention of those who are responsible for the evolution of humanity. Who are they? They are the masters. And this is our hour of opportunity, and hence the Wesak festival, the Wesak full moon festival, concerning the relationship of the Buddha and the Christ to our present day humanity. That relationship to our present day humanity, and the emphasis it lays upon our immediate opportunity to cooperate for the evolution of humankind, to move up and evolve to who we truly are, the heart-centered, loving, kind beings we truly are. If we go back to September 11th, 2001, there is actually, this continues to be in the satellites that circumscribe the globe every day. We have a lot of satellites up there. They're measuring constantly the vibration of the earth, the pulse of the earth, and the waves. They're measuring a lot of things, but that one thing they're measuring is what's called the Schulman, Schulman, the Schulman resonance of the earth. And that's a vibratory rate of the earth. On September 11th, 2001, the Schulman resonance went off the chart of measuring the amount of love and compassion poured out of humanity around the globe, which changed the vibration of the globe after those planes hit the Twin Towers. It changed the vibration of the globe into a higher vibration as so much open-hearted compassion just flooded the vibration of the earth. And that is measured, and you can look that up. I believe it was NASA. NASA can look that up at NASA on that date. It is astounding. It was astounding to them to see. And not only they could see the surge of the first plane and the surge of the second plane, and they measured this the amount of the change of these Schulman resonances. And that shows me that we as human beings, if we can maintain or bring ourselves up on a daily basis to that level of resonance, of compassion and love and caring and outpouring of love on a daily basis, we can shift the way the earth is going. We can affect how things are evolving for humanity. It will push in the background all the negativity, all of the hate, all of the destruction that is happening on this globe. And that is what's going on right now, is more and more people are becoming more and more conscious. And we're calling that consciousness because consciousness is another word for God, another word for all that there is, another word for source energy is consciousness. And that's being proven through quantum physics. Everything is energy, and everything vibrates, and everything is conscious. And the level of consciousness is what can be measured. And as the level of consciousness of humanity increases in vibration, it brings to the planet and to humanity as a whole, to the human race, more health, more happiness, more joy. And I know with the news media the way it is nowadays, it's very hard to imagine that happening. However, it is happening. It is happening. There's a great movie that I like to watch every now and then. It's called Love Actually. It's just a movie, but it's a movie about love. And it talks about what happened on 9/11, and that the love that poured out after that was astronomical. But that's a really, if you like romantic comedies, that's kind of my gig. I like to feel good and be happy, so that's what I watch. And if you like romantic comedies, check it out. It's probably from 2003 or 4 back then was made, so it's a pretty oldie, 10 or 11 years old. And let's slow me down a little bit. So we have the opportunity, if we connect in on May 3rd with the Taurus moon, and May 3rd being May 2nd, May 3rd, May 4th, that whole area, like if you put a parentheses around like the couple days before and a couple days after, the energies of that moon will be coming up and growing, and then they'll be subsiding, but they'll be peaking in those 5 days, 2 or 3 days before and 2 or 3 days after May 3rd. And when you do this, if you just sit quietly and connect and just have an intention to connect in, or look at the moon, or breathe and connect with your heart. There's actually a prayer, you can look it up online, Wesak Festival. There's an actual prayer to humanity that you can say if you want to really get involved in what's going on around the earth, that everyone will be doing at the same time. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but I'm going to go on about what the Wesak Festival is. And it occurs at the full moon of Taurus, as I said, and the Festival of Humanity takes place a month later. The Wesak Festival occurs at the full moon of Taurus. So the Festival of Humanity takes place at the full moon of Gemini, which is in June. And in the same way, the Festival of Easter is determined by the full moon occurring in the zodiacal division of Aries, the first full moon of the spring equinox. And these three festivals, Easter, of Wesak, and of Humanity, are the three major spiritual events of the year. It is well to remember that in certain passages of the writings of certain sacred writings of Tibet, that such phrases are frequently used as May full moon in speaking of the Wesak festival, the full moon of the Buddha, and the June full moon in referring to the full moon of the Christ, which is the festival of humanity. Generally, these two full moons do occur during the months of May and June, but sometimes not invariably the case. As explained above, they are governed by the full moon in Taurus and Gemini, which could actually happen a month, like a week ahead of time in the prior month. So this is the event, how it began. It began as something that happened in India. So the legend, the fact can be described as follows. There is a valley lying at a rather high altitude in the foothills of the Himalayan Tibet ranges. It is surrounded by high mountains, of course, on all sides except towards the northeast, where there is a narrow opening in the mountain ranges. The valley is therefore bottle-shaped in contour, with the neck of the bottle to the northeast, and it widens very considerably toward the south. Up towards the northern end, close to the neck of the bottle, there is to be found a huge flat rock. There are no trees or shrubs in this valley, which is covered with a kind of coarse grass, but the sides of the mountains are covered with trees. At the time of the full moon of Taurus, pilgrims from all the surrounding districts begin to gather. The holy men and lamas find their way into the valley and fill the southern and middle parts, leaving the northeastern end relatively free. There, so the legend goes, gathers a group of those great beings who are the custodians of earth on earth, the custodians on earth of God's plan for our planet and for humanity. By what name we call these beings does not greatly matter. The Christian believer may prefer to speak of Christ as his church and regard them as them, T-H-E-M, capital T, as constituting that great cloud of witness who guaranteed to humanity ultimate salvation. The esoterics of the world may call them the masters of the wisdom, the planetary hierarchy, who are in their varied grades, are ruled and taught by the Christ, the master of all masters and the teacher alike of angels and of men. Or we can call them the rishis of the Hindu scriptures, or the Society of Illumined Minds, as in the Tibetan teachings. So there's many different names that these masters are called. They are the great intuitives and the great companions of our more modern presentation, and are the aggregate of perfected humanity who have followed in Christ's footsteps and have entered for us within the veil, leaving us an example that we should do as they have done. They, in their wisdom, love, and knowledge, stand as a protective wall around our race, a protective wall around humanity, and seek to lead humanity, us, step by step, as they themselves were led in their time from darkness to light, from the unreal to the real, from the depth of immortality. This group of knowers of divinity are the main participants in the Wesak festival. They range themselves in the northeastern end of the valley and in concentric circles, according to the status and grade of their initiatory development, prepare themselves for a great act of service. In front of the rock, that flat rock, looking towards the northeast, stand those beings who are called by their disciples the three great lords. These are the Christ who stands in the center, the Lord of living forms, the man who stands on his right, the Lord, and the Lord of civilization who stands on his left. So there's Christ, and there's the Lord of man, and the Lord of civilization. These three face the rock upon which there rests a great crystal bowl. A great crystal bowl is sitting on that rock full of water. It is interesting, in an interesting sidelight, upon this ceremony and its reality, that all who have dreamt of participating in it are always well aware of the exact position in the lower part of the valley where they themselves stood. So people that go there remember exactly where they stood when this happened. One who described it to me spoke standing well off to one side close to a tree to which a horse was tethered, and others seemed to know equally well where they found themselves. So like we all do, we remember where we were when a major life-changing event happened. And behind the grouped masters and adepts, initiates, and senior workers under God's plan are to be found the world disciples and aspirants in their various grades and groups, either in the body or out of the body, which means either physical or in spirit. And these constitute the group of world servers. Their presence in their physical bodies have found their way by their ordinary means. Others are present in their spiritual bodies and in the dream state. So the dream, which they later relate, may it not be the physical recognition and the recollection of an inner spiritual happening. So we are kind of all dreaming our reality, but yet you know what it's like to go into the dream state, but there are beings in different dimensions, and the dream state is a dimension. And as the hour of the full moon approaches, a stillness settles down upon the crowd that's in the valley, and all look toward the northeast, where this crystal bowl and water and these masters have gathered. Certain ritualistic movements take place, as in any church. There's a ritual in which the grouped masters and the disciples of all ranks take up symbolic positions and form on the floor in the valley such significant symbols as the five-pointed star. So they all stand in the valley in a formation together as a five-pointed star, with the Christ standing at the highest point, or a triangle with a Christ at the apex and a cross, or a cross and other well-known formations, all with which have a deep and potent meaning. So this ritual happens every year. It's kind of replayed every year, the same way we replay Easter, the same way we replay Christmas. And for us to check in and be in this somewhere in this ceremonial, or connect in with this festival this year coming up in May, would help us to feel the power of that ritual, get into that ritual that can help us to move up, to enlighten us, to help us to align ourselves to our true purpose, to our God self, to why we are here. And so during that festival, there's certain chants and there's rhythms. There's a lot that takes place. So I invite you to look up online more about the Wesak festival. I did download this online, and there is a chant at the end. It's called the Great Invocation. And I guess what I will do is I will end with that Great Invocation. And it's it came about, the invocation actually was gathered up back in 1952, the full moon of Gemini, as the World Invocation Day. But it's been growing and growing ever since. And it is the intention of that Wesak festival coming up to amplify everything that this invocation has to say. So here we go, the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men. The purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and power restore the plan on earth. And so there you have it, the Wesak Festival. You can look that up online, WESAK, happening in the Taurus full moon coming up in the first weekend of May. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit about God or about plants or about springtime. And remember to breathe and be curious about life and be curious about who you are and be curious about what you're eating. Are you eating food that is medicine for your body, or are you eating food that is poison for your body? That's really the way we need to look at what we put in our body, not only through what we eat, but what we drink, what we look at, what we hear, what we're around, what our energy is around in our environment. All those things help us or hinder us in our health. So pay attention to those things and just be curious. And if there's too much for you to change all at once, find one thing that you might want to change, like one thing you might want to buy at a farmer's market every week that you can eat that will feel like you're eating something really healthy grown here locally in the local ground in clean earth and clean air and clean water and a clean human being taking care of it. So thank you for joining me again. Until next time, remember, your heart knows the way.